I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Peiris here to the State Department. I first met him 15 years ago when I was in Colombo, Sri Lanka. And it is a great pleasure to have the opportunity to discuss Sri Lanka's efforts to rebuild after more than 2 decades of violence and terrorist activity that have deprived the Sri Lankan people of the progress they deserve. Dr. Peiris is a capable, experienced public servant whose leadership is helping to move Sri Lanka toward renewal and reconciliation, and we hope to greater peace, prosperity, and security for the future. The United States has long been a friend of Sri Lanka. Our countries share a history of democratic institutions, and we have an active USAID program that has invested more than $1.9 billion in Sri Lanka since 1956 and is currently helping to create new opportunities for people who were displaced by the conflict. Since the LTTE terrorist group was defeated 1 year ago, USAID has rebuilt or repaired 7 schools and a hospital damaged by the conflict, launched public-private partnerships in northern and eastern Sri Lanka to create the equivalent of 5,000 full-time jobs in former conflict zones, supported work training for young people to spur economic development, and provided extensive aid and assistance to internally displaced people seeking to return home. The United States will continue to provide Sri Lanka with humanitarian and demining assistance to help heal the wounds of war and bring lasting peace and prosperity to the country. As part of this effort, the Minister and I discussed Sri Lanka's Reconciliation Commission. The United States strongly supports political and ethnic reconciliation in Sri Lanka. Such commissions of inquiry have played an important role in advancing accountability and redressing wrongs in other countries emerging from periods of internal strife. Sri Lanka's commission should apply the best practices from these other commissions and should have the mandate to investigate any allegations of war crimes. We also discussed the issue of internally displaced persons with the minister. There's been tremendous progress, and many thousands and thousands of such internally displaced persons have returned home. And we discussed the need to continue the safe, dignified, and voluntary return to homes. Sri Lanka has made progress, and we will continue to support efforts to safeguard the rights of IDPs and complete their relocation. After decades of LTTE rule in the north, the Sri Lankan government is committed to reestablishing democracy. I was very pleased by the briefing I received from the minister about the many steps that are being taken to return to democratic order. Sri Lanka will remain a strong, united country by drawing on the strength of all of its citizens, valuing the diversity of its people, and ensuring equal rights for everyone. So once again, I want to thank Minister Peiris for our productive discussion today and commend him for his commitment to the reconciliation process. The United States pledges our continued support to Sri Lanka and wishes the Sri Lankan people and the government's success in this very challenging but important work ahead. Mr. Minister.
Let me begin by thanking Secretary Clinton very sincerely for her initiative in inviting me here to the State Department at this very critical juncture in our country's contemporary history. It's a time of great promise and hope for Sri Lanka. New vistas of opportunity are opening up in every sector of life in my country. Today we have 2 singular advantages. One is an honorable and enduring peace consequent upon the eradication of terrorism. The second strength we have is an unprecedented degree of political stability, which a country has not achieved during the last 25 years. As Secretary Clinton pointed out, we are proud of the tremendous progress that we have made during the short space of 1 year with regard to the the resettlement of internally displaced people, an excruciatingly difficult problem. We were not really well equipped to handle it at the time we were called upon to do so, unexpectedly. We have been able to resettle people in their natural habitat, but we have not been content with that. It is not a question of just resettling people physically, but we want to ensure a restoration of livelihoods so that they're able to live their lives with dignity without bitterness or rancor. That's very essential. The other challenge, of course, was the reactivation of the electoral process, which had been dormant for a long period because of the turbulence in that part of the country. And there is a need today for political space to be provided for the emergence of a legitimate democratic Tamil leadership, particularly at the local government level, because the LTT had destroyed the leaders of the Tamil community just as much as they had annihilated the leaders of other communities. One of our principal challenges in Sri Lanka is to revive, to strengthen institutions of democracy, now that the country is returning to normal. I express President Mahinda Rajapaksa's thanks to Hillary Clinton for the steps that have been taken by the State Department to remove the travel warning on Sri Lanka. That is a recognition of the improvement, the very significant improvement of the security situation. The government went to Parliament just 3 weeks ago to remove more than 70% of the emergency regulations under which the country had been governed for as long a period as almost 5 years. And this demonstrates the political resolve of the government to expunge these regulations as soon as possible, not to apply them for one moment longer than they are necessary. We believe, Madam, that there is a strong correlation between economic contentment and political motivation. As we move forward towards a political resolution of the conflict, we want to ensure that the people of those areas live with a sense of dignity and well-being. So these are some of the challenges that we are facing in our country at present, and this is the trajectory that we envision for the future. We have in Sri Lanka a very committed, a courageous political leadership that is capable of grappling with these problems. And we look forward to a multi-dimensional relationship with the United States on the lines of what is envisioned in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee report of Senator John Kerry and Senator Lugar, who have called for a broadening and a deepening of the relationship between our two countries at this time. I think there's a role for American companies to come in and to participate vigorously in the rebuilding of infrastructure, in the resuscitation of democratic institutions. All of this is possible, and we look forward, Madam, to a rich and deep relationship with the United States in the new and exciting situation which has arisen in my country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. Thank you.
We have time for 2 questions from the United States.
My question is for both of you, and it concerns the Reconciliation Commission that Sri Lanka is setting up. Human rights groups, including Human Rights Watch today, basically said that the parameters of this commission are much too narrow and that there really should be an independent international investigation of the alleged war crimes that occurred at the in the last month of the war. And I just wonder what your reflections are on that.
Well, the United States supports the creation of the Reconciliation Commission. It's a commission on lessons learned and reconciliation. The end of the conflict in Sri Lanka is, as the minister said, a promising opportunity to move forward on ensuring greater respect for the human rights of all Sri Lankans. Experience in other countries has shown that such a commission that has the credibility and legitimacy within the country has a valuable role in advancing accountability. And we are very supportive of the approach taken by the Sri Lankans. We, of course, will continue to work with them and to observe this commission. We expect that it will be given a broad enough mandate with the resources necessary to be able to follow the trail of any evidence that is presented. It is especially important that Commission members be and are perceived as being independent, impartial, and competent. And the Minister has told me in our meeting that that's exactly the kind of people that are being appointed to this Commission. We expect that the mandate will enable them to fully investigate serious allegations of violations and to make public recommendations, that Commission members and potential witnesses must enjoy adequate and effective protection, and the Commission must be able to work with the